and great. And I am a Spanish 1B and 4 honors teacher. So I teach like novice mid and intermediate low for the most part. So this session, I'm going to try to get 4 activities in our 45 minutes together. But whatever I don't cover, like please reach out to me via email or on Twitter. So I'm gonna sneak in. If you wanted to access the slides right now, it's tinyurl.com/psmla Talkin tools, no G, or cool like that. Okay, so this isn't one of my 4 activities, but it is something that I wanted to mention because I have absolutely loved like what I've gotten from this. So I start a lot of my classes with a couple rounds of like Quizlet Live or like a round of Gimkit, or we'll start a Kahoot. But I noticed that I could get a lot of information out of my kids by, like when we play, I say like, oh, tu nombre y un emoji que representa, or an emoji that represents XYZ. And so it's a great interpretive opportunity, which I know that's not what we're here for, but we'll ask like, un emoji que representa tu fin de semana, o un animal, pues, tu animal favorito, o things like that. Or like with my older kids, I'll be like, lo que comiste para almuerzo, like what you ate for lunch or what you had for breakfast or whatever. But the options are like limitless. And it just like when they log in, it gives you something to talk about while you're waiting for the rest of them. Like, ooh, like un restaurante, sushi, ooh, qual. And like, we'll start talking and like, we're waiting for the rest of them. And sometimes, they'll answer you in English, but as long as you can kind of get that, kind of break the ice a little bit, it's kind of a nice way to start. So anyway, that's not one of my 4, but I did want to share that as a quick tip. So the plan in our 40 minutes together, 2 things. One is like building our toolbox, like giving kids the tools to have these purposeful conversations, because you can't just, dive right in. They have to be comfortable speaking the language and comfortable speaking, period. So I have 2 activities for that. And then the more purposeful conversation, I have 2 of those coming as well. So first up, I'm sure we've played Taboo in our classes before, or maybe like we played it at home. But Taboo is a great opportunity to practice circumlocution, right? Like when you're having a conversation and you're looking for a word, this happens especially with our language learners, like they have to talk around it. So this is a great game that's super low prep. It's a lot of fun. It gets a lot of noise in your classroom, and the kids get competitive and they really get into it. So usually I have the kids work in pairs. If you have a group of 3, no big deal. But in our lower levels, like with our novice speakers, a lot of times they're so much more comfortable if you start them in a group of 3 or a group of 4. And so we'll talk about that in just a second. But basically kids take turns. Like they're either giving clues of like, oh, it's a fruit, it's red, it's for teachers. And like they're trying to get their partners to give you the word apple. So when I do groups of 3, if I have a lower level kid, I'll put them in a group of 3. So basically the 2 are having the conversation. The other one's kind of there for the ride and kind of can interject as they feel comfortable. But yeah, so groups of 3 are really nice for that. So basically like you can play in a number of ways. You can use like the Google timer. And then I do like slides, and each slide has 5 words each, and that's the round. You can also do flashcards. Like I did it today with my 4 honors kids. They had made flashcards for our next unit, and they played Taboo. So they just set a timer on their phone and tried to see how many expressions they could make their partner say in a minute. And so that's how we worked it with flashcards. But you can also do index cards, which is like how we're going to practice today in just a couple minutes. So I know we're probably all settling in, maybe warming up our coffee. And I'm totally fine with no cameras in the big group, but when we go to breakout rooms in just a couple minutes, I'd ask that you put your camera on to interact with the person that you're going to be working with. So just a couple more things. We had, especially when they're in the younger levels, or the earlier levels, you want to provide some sentence starters like before you throw them into the activity. Be like, hey, like how could you give a clue? Like easy clues are like, oh, it's similar to, or it's opposite of. In Spanish, we're so lucky to have a million cognates. Like my Spanish 1B class, I'm sure my professors in college would be a little bummed, but I do use so many cognates. It's kind of gross, but that's okay. They get into it, and I'm happy for their participation. So another one that I can do, like if they have a more expanded vocabulary, you could say like, oh, you know, it's a fruit, but it's not an orange, and it's not a pear, or it's like, it's a vegetable, it's not broccoli, but and then another one is like fill in the blanks. Like, you know, we all have like those phrases that we give on vocabulary lists. So if you had like to listen, you'd be like, oh, I like to blank music. You'd be like, oh, listen to music. But anyway, so like really this, I sometimes get yelled at by like my next door teacher neighbors when I play this game, because they'll literally be like screaming just like anything. And that's like, I'm so happy for that. Like, especially after the 1.5 years that we had, seeing kids interacting with each other and getting jazzed up, like I'm all over it. So anyway, so when you play, you'll put the timer on the board and then also display the words if you're playing with the slides. The groups are working together against the class, and they earn 1 point per word guess. So we say you give them 30 seconds, or you give them a minute, and you give them 5 words. So if they get all 5 words, they get 5 points. They can jump around. So like if they get stuck, like they just mix to the next one and then they come back if they have enough time at the end. You can really have them play as many rounds as you want, but just make sure that you announce the last round. So it's like the last round, I guess there are 2 slides, right? So there's 5 words for one person to be the clue giver, and then the next 5 words are for the person to guess. And then I always have like a tiebreaker round ready that's like really hard words, and then I have like whoever has, you know, the same number of points, they just go kind of head to head in front of the class, which is really cool, kind of just for everyone else to see like what kind of clues they give and how they guess. I really, really love this activity as like a warm up before like a speaking assessment. It just kind of like helps them shake off their nerves a little bit and get excited and kind of remember that they do know a lot of vocabulary. And it also doesn't have to be like full sentences. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys try, but this is the ultra low prep because I didn't do anything. Isn't that great? What you're going to do is somewhere, anywhere, it doesn't matter to me. You could even like put it into a note on your phone or like an empty text message. Just jot down 5 words or phrases, 5 words or phrases related to teaching world languages. It could be anything. It could be, I don't know, interpersonal. It could be actful. It could be, I don't know, what else? It could be the language itself. Like any 5 words, doesn't really matter. But what you're going to do is we're going to put you in breakout rooms with one other person. We're going to skip the chit chat. No, like, hi, my name is Katie and I teach Spanish. No. Nobody cares anyway, so it's fine. So you just say, you get there, I will give you 90 seconds in your breakout room to see if you can give clues to make your partner say your words, but you can't say your word in your clue. So if I'm saying actful, I can't say, oh, it's the American teaching in the floor, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, don't tell anybody, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Anyway, but you can't use the word in your clue, but you're trying to make your partner say those words. You switch roles and then the other person goes. You can obviously skip around and pass. Like if they got 3 out of your 5 and you want to let them go and then you want to come back to it if you have time, great. You'll get 1 word or 1 point for each word that you and your partner guess. It's you and your partner versus our session. And let's see. Okay, here's the only other trick. When we open the breakout rooms, you'll head in there. And then after about 30 seconds, we're going to hit close breakout room. And then you'll see that the host has closed your breakout room. Please return in 60 seconds, 59, 58. I don't want you to come back until the time runs out or until you got all of your expressions. So you'll see that like return to come back, but just let the timer run out. That's actually your timer. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So if I have 21 people, okay, so that would be 9 breakout rooms. Is that possible? I don't have the breakout room feature as a co-host. I thought I would. No dice.
Sorry. Let me take care of that then. Give me just a second.
Thanks. Just a quick show of hands, or like even the reactions button. Does anybody ever play this game in their classes? Yay, nay? A little bit here and there, maybe. All right, great. I guess this pause also gives you, I guess, some time to write down your 5 words if you didn't have them already, or think of some clues that you would get. The American Council of the Teaching of Foreign Languages, ACTFL, came to me.
Okay, sorry, Katie. I'm struggling a little bit to find the feature.
Are you?
Yes, I'm sorry, because it's on my phone, and so it's not letting me. So
shoot.
what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna make you the host. Okay. And I think that should
do it.
That should do it.
All right. Awesome. Breakout rooms. Yay. Okay, great.
Okay, great.
9 of them. All right. Oh, 29. No, that's not right. Sign automatically. Beautiful. All right. Let's see. I have that annoying habit of like narrating what I'm doing. Sorry, guys. All right, this should be great then. Well, you know what? There we go. All right, perfect. Wonderful. Okay, great. So you have your 5 words. So no chit chat, no hi, my name is, nothing like that. You get 90 seconds. You'll see the return to come back after like 30 seconds, but just keep going. Use that timer. Okay. And we'll see in a little bit. So 30 seconds on there. All right.
Recording.
All right. So it was super rápido, ¿no? But if you could let me know in the chat how many points you and your partner were able to grab. So just let me know in the chat, you know, how many points were you guys able to get out of the 10? Oh, guys, this is great. Oh, 3. All right, got 8, 5, 7, 8, 6. Oh, get out of here. Oh, only 1. Ah, rats. All right. Nice job, guys. Fabulous. All right. So you guys can see like how much fun that is. And once they're all going, honestly, it's so good for our teacher hearts, I think, to just hear that and see that excitement, because it definitely does translate really well. So that is Taboo, super easy, low prep, especially if you're just like, hey guys, like here's an index card, pick any 5 words from your vocabulary list. And like I do is like quiz trade familiar to anyone? Or like mix pair share, like that's literally all it is. Like I, with my 5 words, I pair up with this kid and we go, and then, or you can have them like, all right, now cross off like your 2 least favorite and add 2 more. And you really don't have to do anything. It's great. So that is Taboo. My second one is Tic Tac Toe. Tic Tac Toe is so basic. I had so much anxiety about sharing this with you guys, but I really hope that you find it kind of as fun as I do, even though it's super, super basic. So basically what I do is I come up with my Tic Tac Toe board, and I'll show you like some ways to do your questions. I display that. And then I have my kids, my shoulder pairs, or shoulder partners, like they just work together and they just draw like a blank Tic Tac Toe board and they play with each other. There's like, all right, I'm going for the top right, or I'm going for center. And they kind of monitor themselves in terms of correct or incorrect. When you end up with that group of 3, like you have an extra kid, I just make sure that I have like a more advanced kid, but I have them act as like the Vanna White. Of course, I can't use like the Vanna White reference because I have no idea who she is. So I just say like, oh, profe, profe Bobby, or like, oh, referee, tu, whatever. And so they kind of like, they do the X's and the O's, and they take care of like when somebody like is incorrect and the other person wants to steal that space. They kind of handle that. But really, we play this in groups. That way they kind of get familiarized with it. And then we play as a class. And on my whiteboard, like I do like, oh, eki, so oh, and we pass the ball back and forth and they play against each other. It's a nice way to know like how they did, even though, you can walk around the room too. But anyway, so like you can start out super, super novice, like with my Spanish 1Bs. I do a lot of like, dime 4 objetos en la clase, like tell me 4 objects in the class, or, cierto, falso, La Habana es la capital de Cuba. Or, like name, like, so naming things, listing things. We all know that this is like the novice level in terms of production. Another thing I love to do with them is I like to give them the sentence starter, or like basically the shell of the sentence, especially when I'm teaching something that the grammar differs from English syntax or like English expression. For example, when we express like how old we are in Spanish, I don't say like I am 33 years old. I say I have 33 years, which is like, is a struggle at the end of the day. It's a struggle. So I just put like tengo, blah, 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 años, and they have to fill it in with however old they are. Birthday is same deal. Or if I want them to like describe someone or something, I'll just put like, Shakira es muy bloop, and then they have to like answer it correctly. And so in doing this, like when they play with partners, they're so quick to like point out each other's mistakes and go, oh, incorrecto, like pronunciation or like masculine, feminine. It's just kind of a nice way to put them in the driver's seat in terms of like feedback. And the last thing I do, and this I do like later on in Spanish 1B, and then obviously my 4 honors can handle answering questions with complete sentences. Don't want to like, just kidding. Everybody's honors 4 kids can answer questions in complete sentences, but that's where I will do the questions. Generally, I think my novice kids are like really kind of intimidated by questions because first they have to figure out what the question is asking, and then they have to put it together. That's why like I really prefer those like listing type questions or like the fill in the blanks. So anyway, so you play, and if it's correct, you get the space, So of course, I'm gonna ask that you play. So I'll give you a second to open up my slides presentation if you didn't already. It's tinyurl.com/psmla Talkin, no G, Talkin tools. So open up the slides and go ahead to slide 10. And then I'm gonna put these breakout rooms back together so you're talking to somebody else. All right, someone's in a wind tunnel. Sweet. Great. I think I have the groups, but I hope that they're, that you're with somebody else. But you guys are gonna play with this one. Oh, just kidding. I'm going the wrong way. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. All right, here it is. So you'll say, hey, I'm gonna name 3 of the actual 5 C's, and the person is gonna be like, okay, well, they're gonna be listening and telling you correct or not correct. And then basically, wherever you have some space, just jot down a little tic tac toe board, just blank, and you can keep track. All right, you want to be X's, I'll be O's, doesn't matter. And give like, I don't know, 5-ish minutes, 3 minutes or so. There we go. Liliana, did you get a breakout room invite?
Sorry about it. I am driving and need to participate. I'm so sorry.
Okay. All right.
Hello.
Hey, I could barely hear you. I just assumed you were having connection issues.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
This presentation that is just only listen. Could you let me? Sorry about it.
That's okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Sure, sure. What languages do you teach?
Spanish.
What levels?
Spanish 3 and honors.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So nice.
Oh, one of my
Yes,
breakout rooms needs help. I'll be right back.
Yes, great.
Hi, Sarah. Oh, that's all right. Oh, I'm glad you're here. You got it.
Recording.
All right. Beautiful. Great. So if I were playing online, sometimes what I was doing like last year, we would play like in groups, and then we would come back and I would like divide my class by alphabet. You know, I'd say like, all right, A through F, like your group 1, and G through the rest, your group 2. And then we would go through and we would play like with like X's and O's and stealing and all of that good stuff. So that's how we can play, and you can play online, you can play in person. But yeah, how'd you guys do? Pretty good? Like, oh, Bonnie, got a star player back there. She's got some help. Great. Awesome. So that's Tic Tac Toe. Obviously, like when you play, excuse me, guys. Oh, this Mac mouse is terrible. But yeah, like when you play, yeah, obviously in your target language, especially with those like fill in the blanks, like they're really not intimidating. The questions are a little bit, but fill in the blanks, at least they're reading it, you know, and it kind of helps to give them a sense and reinforce, especially those ones that the grammar is like a little bit weird. Okay, so that was like building the target language toolbox, just kind of getting them comfortable producing the language with each other and in class, and just kind of breaking the ice a little bit. And on to like purposeful conversation, right? Or communication. Communication really doesn't exist unless there's a purpose. So I wanted to share with you one thing I do with polling and then weekend chat mats that were completely not my idea, but something that I absolutely love doing that I wanted to make sure that I share. So one thing that I do with even my novice level kids, we do polls in the target language. And it's really nice. Like before you want to do any kind of cultural comparison, like I have an activities unit. Everybody I think has an activities unit. But I like to kind of get a gauge of like what's popular in my class, like what do my kids like to do? And so I have them poll each other with things like, do you like blank or blank more? How often do you? How much time do you spend doing X? With my novice level kids, it's really nice for them to like kind of all have the same question, but just like a variety of that question or variation of that question. So I wanted to share with you guys this one, which sports are most popular in our class. We actually just did this the other day, and I had a student doing this because it was teacher switch day. So we switched. And so actually one of our seniors led this activity with my kids. I was pretty excited about it. Prof. Talkin was very professional. But anyway, this is linked in the presentation. You're welcome to make a copy, make it your own. But basically we introduced like the vocabulary around frequency, like every day, sometimes, almost, never, etc. And then I just asked them to like do kind of a personal inventory. Like, how often do you play soccer? How often do you play tennis? I threw mini golf in there because it's fun and it's a cognate, again, like my cognates. But anyway, so I have the kids kind of do like a self-assessment first. And then I give them the shell of the question. How often do you play X? And so all they have to do is choose like a sport that they're interested in. They could choose one from the table, or I have kids that like play, I have a kid who's like obsessed with cricket right now, whatever. So his question was, ¿con qué frecuencia juegas al cricket? Which like all of them are like, never, what? But anyway, so they basically find out how often their partners and like how often people in their class play. So they'll just repeat the question, like, ¿con qué frecuencia juegas al basketball? ¿Con qué frecuencia juegas al basketball? ¿Y tú con qué frecuencia juegas al basketball? And it's just like, we get those reps in really, really easily. And the purpose is there, right? The kids are wanting to express, you know, themselves, like their lives. So they just, you know, keep track of who says todos los días every day, who says sometimes. And then they just make a little graph, like a little, hopefully like a pie chart. I had a kid make a bar graph in this circle one time. I was like, points for creativity, you know, you can't, just gonna march the beat of her own drummer no matter what. But anyway, so we do a little bit of math, not my favorite thing in the world. But they make their little pie chart, and then they make a prediction of like which sports they think are going to be most popular in Spanish speaking countries. And then that kind of kicks us off. So this is a poll that I use with my novice level kids. And it's just kind of like maybe a 20-minute activity all in all. But yeah, so it's really nice because the next thing that we do is we look at this, which is like, it's a poll of Argentinian people from 10 to 24 years old. And so we look at like how often do they do these things, and so they interpret it. There's like a little key down here that says like, okay, blue is more than one time a week, and then it tells them, and then they kind of like mash up like what they do with what they see of Argentinian teenagers. So like I said, these polls are really nice for like with a cultural comparisons, or at least giving like a comparison that's more closer to what the class does. Yeah. So, and then lastly, I wanted to share with you guys the weekend chat mats. And if you're on Line Chat, you might have seen this already, but I am just in awe of this concept as a whole, and also like what they're able to offer with Aventuras Nuevas, the world language blog. They offer a lot of different activities and ideas. So I would definitely recommend checking them out, but this is where I found it. And since then, I have made color copies for my class and then laminated them. So I give them out, usually we do this on Mondays because we like to talk about like what we did over the weekend. But they also have like future ones, like what they're going to do over the weekend. So anyway, I make my color copies and I laminate them, and then I have the kids like with an expo marker circle what they did. So it'll say like, where did you go over the weekend, or where are you going to go over the weekend, and what did you do? And it gives things like, things that kids usually do, like, oh, I ate X, like I studied, I did homework, I slept, I worked. And it just gives them like, it gives them the words. They don't have to think of it, cold call on a Monday morning. That's horrible. But they have a lot of them. So they have French, German, and Spanish right now. But there's a link if you wanted to request like Japanese or Chinese or Russian or Arabic or something that you teach that's not represented. They'll make it for you. So this one is like you would do like on a Friday, like, where are you going this weekend? What are you going to do? And so I give these to them, they circle it. And then usually what we do is we just have a very structured conversation. So they have 30 seconds, like for each step in the conversation, let's say. So we have conversations between two people. First off, the first student shares for 30 seconds, like, yo voy a ir pues al cine, yo voy a un partido, yo voy a comer, and they try and give as many details as possible. Then I give them 30 seconds to ask questions, make comments, connect with their partner. And then the next person gives their monologue. And then finally, like, they have their last round of conversation. And so after that conversation, I have them share out like, hey, what's one thing that you guys have in common? Or, pick a picture that represents your partner's weekend or something like that. So this is the slide that I display. In Spanish, obviously, but I just didn't want to cut anybody out. So this is what I put on there. So the partner and I have a timer for 30 seconds, and they talk for 30 seconds. They try and fill it up. It's tell them like, what details can you give me? So I don't know if you noticed, but like down here, there's like these level ups. So they can say like who they did it with, or how often, or how long, when, like it kind of prompts them. So which is great for like my kids that, they're like more advanced for their class, so they can just keep going. And then my kids that like I can tell like when they've stopped, I'm like, oh, con quién, donde, and like try and prompt them to just fill that 30 seconds. And then like my older kids, we do like a minute, or then we do 2 minutes and 1 minute. And then when it comes time for asking questions and making comments, this is the type of thing that like I'll put up there. And it's just it's nice for them to be able to kind of throw that out there, and they play with it and they say it really silly. And yeah. And so like, lastly, I'll put something up like, which animal represents your partner's weekend? They're like, oh, numero uno, tiene examen. We're like, oh, qué pena. Or like, after we do this after like winter break or something like that. Or sometimes like my older kids, I'll ask them like, pick a picture that like represents part of your partner's weekend and like tell us like what happened. So there are a lot of different pictures on the internet that you can find that kind of like would show how somebody feels, or like let them kind of interpret that as they will. But yeah, that's how I use those weekend chat mats. But let's see. I think I did share this. So some of us, God love you, who are still online. Profe Delgadillo, I don't know if you've heard of her. She's amazing. But she shares, like, she takes these chat mats and she like uploads them into Google, like into Jamboard. And she kind of interacts with them that way. And I know my colleague, Rich Madel, he also uses them in Jamboard and has kids like put Post-it notes over like their activities. And then he can see what they've done. And then he kind of takes the charge of the conversation of like, oh, Sherry, tú fuiste al cine? ¿Cuál es la película que viste? Like, what movie did you see at the movie? Like, and he kind of and it's fun. Like they kind of interact, and like the production side is more like on our shoulders than on our kids' shoulders, and gives them a lot of really comprehensible and compelling input. So yeah, so that's that. Bing, bing, bing. So thanks for coming out. I'm going to put this back up, but I just wanted to direct your attention to, I have all of my templates listed at the end of the presentation. So like the taboo, you would do this, and then the tic tac toe, and then I have the chispa comunicativa. Like feel free to kind of like do with that what you will. But yeah. And that is that. So I think that will end it for me. I'm so glad I made it in the time frame. I was so nervous. But anyway, those are my 4 activities plus my emoji idea. But yeah, I would so love to hear from you either via email or on Twitter. And thank you so much for being here today.
On behalf of PSMLA, we want to thank everyone for attending this session with Katie Geare. We welcome and encourage your feedback on our sessions. So you can use the link that's in the PDF program, or Sherry did share that link in the chat earlier on. So if you scroll back to the beginning, it'll be there. And the recording of this session will be available to conference registrants after the event up through February. So those of you that are from Pennsylvania, if you're looking for Act 48 credit, you must complete the Act 48 reflection form, which is linked in the PDF program. And again, Sherry also put that in the chat for you. So we would like to thank you and hope that you enjoy the rest of the virtual conference. We will be ending this session promptly at 4:45. But if you have any questions that you'd like to ask before you log off, we do have about 3 minutes. Otherwise, Katie does invite you, as you can see there, to contact her via email or on Twitter, so that she can answer any questions that you may have that we don't have time for today. So thank you again to Katie, and thank you to everybody for attending.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your conference. Did anybody have any questions?
Also, the evaluation form is in the chat. So if you would like to take a moment and fill out the evaluation, if you scroll to the very top, it's at the top of the chat.
All right. All right. It's also at the bottom. Just put it in there in case you need it. Hey, Megan, are we still being recorded?